and the cortex. Okay, so we now have this utterly undefined mass of limbic system, and we also have a tabula rasa there, but here it is. Okay, but what you've got is, of course, subparts of the limbic system. Subparts out the wazoo. There are people who spend their entire lives arguing about whether this subnuclei of this part of the brain should logically be considered as having 7 subparts or 8 subparts. Extremely complicated part of the brain. And what we'll be looking at here is the circuitry. The circuitry and what each individual subregion of the limbic system does. All of this got sorted out in the 1930s or so by a neurologist named James Papes. And I think there remains enormous controversy over whether his name is pronounced Papes or Papez, but probably neither is correct. But what you wound up getting as a result of his work was the first person to begin to think in a systematic way of, hey, all of these structures in that old rhinencephalon part of the brain, all of these structures are simply projections.
I think it's R0.
This seems to be some organized module of
interconnected
function, and it was around that time that people began to be seeing what some of the effects were, what some of the roles of these were behavior, and suddenly out comes the emotional part of the brain. And the circuitry that's since been delineated is known as the Papes circuit, or the Papez circuit, or the whatever the guy's name was circuit, and we will see that shortly. He was the first person to begin to see, just on the level
okay,
of
it's not
connection,
past time, but what is that?
Seems to be
but it gotta be .5, right?
Functions.
If I got 1 TG frame rate, it's .5
what
for
do
sure.
we mean by doing
Oh my god.
Again, back to last week's